Hello everyone. Today's adventure has brought me back to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where I'm going to be hiking to the Mount Cammerer fire tower. I'm doing this as part of the North Carolina Lookout / Fire Tower Challenge, and this will be number 18 for me on the list. I'm doing the list in no particular order, but I have kind of saved this one towards the end because it is by far one of the most difficult ones to do, this one and Yellow Mountain, which I've already knocked out. Looking at getting in around 12 miles today total round trip, with an elevation gain of almost 3,200 feet. So this is going to be pretty tough one on me. I'm starting here in the Cosby Campground, which is actually in Tennessee, and we'll hike on the Low Gap Trail for 3 to 4 miles, and then we'll connect to the Appalachian Trail, and then we'll hike on it for a little while, and then I believe we connect to a spur trail towards the end that will take us to the lookout tower. So we're going to get started, and I'll fill you in along the way. See you on the trail. So today's date is February the 26th, 2022, and it is currently 33 degrees here where I'm at. I think the high in this area today is supposed to be around 50, but that would be at the base here where I'm at. So I'm expecting to see probably a drop in temperature from what it is now on the way up, and then it may be a little warmer as I start to come down. Just depends. There's really no good way to ever totally just predict the weather when you start getting into higher elevations, and especially if you're having a lot of change in elevation in the hike you're doing. But I come prepared with layers. This one's gonna get tough. I know I'm probably may end up in the t-shirt at some point, who knows. But this is gonna be a true journey, and I have not done a hike that has this much elevation at all before. I think the most I've done in one hike is maybe 2,700 feet. That's the most that I've done before. So this will be something kind of new in that aspect, but we'll take it slow and steady, and hopefully I'll be all right. Getting ready to cross the creek over the little bridge right here. This area through right here is gorgeous. Like the creek is flowing very well. So we're coming up on one of our first signs here, just past the creek. Check it out real quick. So it says the Appalachian Trail, 2.5 miles to the right, and the Mount Cammerer Tower is 5.2 miles to the right. So we're gonna go this way. Looks like we'll hike 3 miles, or 2.5 miles to the AT. I believe we'll connect it there for a little while, and then we'll be back on the spur. So, and I can already tell it almost immediately starts to trend upward. I see a lot of rocks. Looks like a lot of them are covered in moss. Wow. So I did want to mention that whenever I parked, there were 3 other vehicles in the parking area. I did see one person and a child And they had a couple of dogs that were walking. They went another direction. And then there was a couple that looked like they were heading this way. They had a map in hand, physical map. And so I'm pretty sure that I'll see at least that couple, and then maybe someone else on the trail at some point up there at the top, or possibly on the way back. So don't believe I'll be totally alone, but the majority of the footage that you'll see, there were probably not any people in it. So keep that in mind. This is also kind of a remote area. It's popular if you look it up online and read about it, but this is not really close to a major town. It's a good, I want to say, anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour from a pretty well-known town. So it's kind of a remote area, kind of off to itself, which there's a lot of areas in the Smokies that are. But, look at that, it's kind of a good thing. Keeps the crowds down. It's amazing how much moss is just on everything. And the rocks, on the ground. All these trees laying here. Wow. A little narrow stream there. Haven't gotten in the trail too far yet, but I can still hear the water from the creek back there. It's actually pretty nice to be on the trail and hear water for a period of time. I wonder how far we'll get before we no longer hear that. I imagine it's going to be dead silent out here. It is going to be a cloudy day all day today. Unfortunately, that's just how it's worked out with my timing, that I was able to come up here and do this. But it's not raining. It's not a snowstorm. Sometimes you have to take what you can get. And if I ever return, I'll know, we'll try to get here on a clear day or something a little different, if I like it that much. We shall see. So we are now up for the foreseeable future. Not quite winded, really, but my lower legs are feeling the burn a little already. Have noticed some horse droppings on the trail here and there, so maybe they use this for horse riding some, maybe. Didn't read that online, but may have just overlooked it. But definitely feeling the burn in my lower legs now. But we're still moving. I'm going to try to push a little further before I take a break. I'd like to get halfway to the AT, leave myself just a mile left to the AT before I take a break where I actually stop. But we'll see. Passing by an opening to the right on the trail, and you can still see the creek. Almost looks like there's two separate streams now, but still hearing the sound of the water the whole way up to this point, which kind of gives me a peace of mind and totally prevents me from being paranoid about things that may be out here with you at the same time. Of course, most of those things were probably in a hole somewhere or hibernating. But very nice here in the water. Kind of eases the burn a little too in my calves. No brakes so far, so pushing on. So I'm getting up high enough now to where some of this fog and the clouds are clearing. I wonder how it's going to be at the top after seeing this now. It's the Smokies are showing their true colors right now to me. You see a cloud kind of settled back in that way. We're still going up, up, up. Very enjoyable so far. You can still hear a water source too. Someone has tied an orange ribbon right here on the tree. Not really sure what that's about, but maybe it's because a tree fell right here. I just never took it down. He marked it because of that, maybe. Oh well, moving on. Over all these roots. Kind of changed for this spot. It's a little more rocky. And there's a waterfall over here. I'm saying it's a waterfall because it's totally separate from the creek that we've been hearing this time. I'm not going to get down there to get a better shot of it, but in just a minute I think I'll be near the top of it. Just a narrow little cascading waterfall, but it's got some length to it. Hard to pass up on a good waterfall, if y'all didn't already know that. So this fall starts way up there. Can't even see the top of it. And it goes through here through a storm drain. And on down through there and eventually ends where I mentioned it in the last clip. And now we're kind of at a turn here. We come from that way. I'm standing in the corner now. Then we go up that way. Pretty cool spot right here. You look in the middle of the screen, you can see a cloud is settled right there. This kind of gives me an indication that we will have a view at the top. Still kind of a cloudy day, but I think we're going to have a view. Got my hopes up now. Well, I'm back in a cloud again. So the question of the day is becoming, will there or will there not be a view from the tower? Yet to be determined. I have climbed above another cloud and then another curve. No, it is not the same ones before, but very similar. And another little waterfall. This time, a lot of the surrounding rocks are just covered in moss. Look at that. Wow. I have to get a close up with my other camera of this. Check this out. Almost just like water. Cloud is just resting right there. See if I can get a little better shot of it with my other camera. That is quite the sight right there. Whew. Just a little further ahead than where I just was. Spotted a couple of icicles here. Only noticed it because one of them broke off and fell and hit the ground in front of me. This is a little bit better view of what we saw a minute ago. Trees are blocking, but kind of see it in a little wider aspect. Oh, the trail's going that way. I think we're going to be working our way around through here to get to somewhere over in that direction, maybe. Maybe. Hard to say for sure quite yet. But it looks like the mountaintops are going to be exposed all around. So we may have to hike to another cloud somewhere, but I think at the top this is going to be a pretty interesting view. So hopefully you can tell this, but all the trees in the forest here now are lined with ice. All the branches are covered in ice. Wow. I was not expecting to see this. We are getting up much higher though, and the ice is flaking off of these rhododendrons here, or whatever this is. I think it's rhododendrons. It's just getting thicker and thicker as we continue with ice. Ice wonderland. Wow. This is pretty amazing here. Wow. Starting to level off just for a minute here, which is quite nice. Almost time for a break. I have not had one yet, and we're pushing 3 miles so far on this. So as soon as I said it's time for a break, probably wasn't even 20 more feet, and I walked up on this sign here. Which is some ice whiskers on it. 2 miles left. That way. Alright, so I took a little break here. Sat on that rock right there. Been here for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Spoke with the other gentleman you saw in the last clip that was hiking up behind me there. And, letting him get ahead just a little bit so I'm not on top of him. But it looks like we are hitting the AT right here. The Appalachian Trail. And it says we have 2.1 miles to Mount Cammerer Trail. I think that's the trail that we will get on. And then it won't be too long after that that we will get to the tower. I think that's right. I'm going to double check on the map, but regardless, we're definitely going this way. And then since this is the AT, ever so often you will see a white mark on the trees if you're not familiar with the AT. Just as you can see on this one straight ahead here. Get a little closer just to make sure you can see it. Right there on that tree, you'll see markings like that. Not exactly sure how far apart they are, but they're usually pretty fresh and easy to make out. This one here looks like it's very fresh. Like it's probably been done in the last 6 months, I would say. But I want to say that I read that the AT section is a little less strenuous than the other. And to give you some perspective, what I've done so far, according to my trail app, the elevation gain so far is almost exactly 2,000 feet to this point. I would say give or take, probably take away a couple 100 feet of that, because all trails it's not always the most accurate, but it does give you some perspective. And I prefer all trails over the others just for review purposes and general information. But carrying on. Still going on the AT. Probably about half a mile or so into it, maybe just a little further than that. It has been pretty pleasant so far. Still a climb up, but not quite as aggressive climb as Low Gap was. So very appreciative and grateful for that. But I think we still have another 800 to 1,000 feet to gain. But at some point, somewhere, it's going to get steep again. So when that happens, I think I'll be ready. So we're turning the corner on this Little mountain right here. You can see another blanket of clouds out here. Some peaks sticking up out in the middle there. And then some more in the direction that we're going. I think we're going to continue to go around this ridge line here. Hook to the right, I believe. Oh yeah. Might actually descend for a second. Or level off anyway. So I've reached a flat open spot here on the AT. You kind of have an obstructive view on both sides. So you can see the mountain line on that side through the trees. You actually can kind of see that maybe, you can't see probably on the camera, but just over the middle of the screen there's a little bit of sunlight almost, it looks like. And back up that way. So in suspense to see how the view's going to be. That's putting it lightly. AT has been very nice so far. More of a relaxing walk than a strenuous hike. Just a pretty good shift for a little bit. So once again, the landscape has kind of shifted on me here. We're seeing a lot of moss coverings on everything now, which is rather nice, I must say. Kind of seen it all so far. Seen a lot of water, creeks and little mini waterfalls, ice on the trees. Now we're seeing a lot of moss. And eventually I think we're probably going to see some more conifer trees than these oaks and other mixture here. I think we will see some conifer trees, a section of them somewhere, maybe. I think I read that right. Yeah, this AT section has been really great so far. Getting a little muddy here and there, but nothing too major, nothing we can't handle. Mixture of trees is starting to kind of blend together as we go on the trail here. The view has shifted to right side of the trail only now, for now, as the ridge lines went up above me. We're still kind of walking on a fairly level trail. Just went down a few times and then went slightly up a few times, but been quite nice. Some steps coming up here and another tree marking. Getting closer and closer. Walking in between what's almost like a rhododendron tunnel now. Pretty well flat through here. So many different changes of scenery, vegetation through here on this hike. It's amazing. This is definitely one that will not be forgot about. I'm not even done yet. Whew. Alright, so I made it to the trail junction here for the Mount Cammerer trail, which we're going to take. And we've got about half a mile left to the tower. I think from this point, it's a minimal climb, I think. And there is also a marker here, the survey marker, tells you the elevation and the year it was put here, I believe. This is kind of like a big open area right here, almost like a campsite. I'm not sure if this is official campsite or not. And there's a little side trail that walks off here. You can kind of get a view if you keep going that way, I think. We're going to continue on, and the next clip should have a Santa Tower. See you there. Just wanted to mention real quick, as you make your way almost to the tower, there is some rock scrambling you have to do. It's nothing too bad. I just thought it'd be worth mentioning. Something to keep in mind. There's one section right here, and I think there's going to be a little bit more up ahead. But well, we are almost there. Sign there's a little wore off. This section of rocks and boulders is a little more intense than what I showed you before, but we are just at the summit here. Oh boy. You're on top of the world up here. Holy cow, look at this view. Shit. Wow. And there's the tower right there. Center screen. So this is the Mount Cammerer Fire Tower. Made it. Nice little slab bench there. Plenty of places to sit. You got a little information sign here. I have a little passage that I've took some notes offline. I'm going to read to you before we head down. Very nice. You still see snow on parts over that way. I don't know if you can make it out or not, but I can sure see it. Wow. I believe all of your higher elevation peaks are that way. It is open. Some supplies in here. Fortunately, some of the windows have been knocked out. I don't even get mad at that anymore. It's just so used to it. Pretty sad. Not sure if it's officially allowed or not. I imagine it's probably not, but I know people have camped in here overnight, which would be interesting, to say the least. Some of the floorboards are warped up. Overall, it's still a solid structure, but you could definitely use some TLC. This is the survey marker just before you climb up on the catwalk. Alright, so I'm going to go over some history and facts about the tower. The things that I'm going to mention are all based on things that are in Peter Barr's book about the lookout towers. That can be purchased on Amazon, and I'll try to include a link in the description for that. I do not know him personally. This is not a plug for him, but it is a very, very good book if you're into trying to hike to a lot of these towers. But I'm just going to go over some information and facts. But like I said before, the information comes from his book and various online sources. So the Mount Cammerer fire tower is 20 feet tall and has approximately 7 steps to the top, which I did not count 7. I counted like 4 or 5 maybe. Anyway, it's made of a stone base and has an octagon shaped live-in style cab that is surrounded by a narrow wooden catwalk, as I've already showed you. The tower sits at an elevation of 4,928 feet, and it is technically located in Haywood County, North Carolina. And it's currently under the ownership of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And when it was originally built, it was known as the White Rock Lookout Tower. Before construction had begun, there was some debate on what the design of the tower was going to be. The architect originally wanted to build a steel tower that's similar to the one on Mount Sterling and Shuckstack, but it was later decided to build this style of tower, which is known as a Type 9 design. The design was chose because it fits in much better with the surrounding landscape, which I personally would agree. Even though it's short and wide, not 40 to 60 feet tall like the other typical towers, you still have an unobstructed 360-degree view whenever you're walking around up there. And the tower's original construction was started in 1937 and completed of this September of 1939. The total cost at the time was around $15,000, which was estimated to be 10 times more than what the initial spending budget they had for it was. And in the mid-90s, 2 men from Sevierville hiked to the tower and saw it in poor condition, and they were so upset about it that they decided to privately fund the restoration. So after various donations were made, $55,000 was raised to restore the tower to its original look from the 1930s. At the time of the start of the restoration, there were 2 5,000-pound loads of building materials that were lifted to the site by a helicopter, and that restoration was completed in the summer of 1995. And unfortunately today, it's kind of getting back into poor condition. It's probably, I would say the reasons being is more due to people than it is the elements out here. But I would say sometime in the next few years, it may be something that probably needs to happen again. A lot of the windows are knocked out up there, and there is some building materials and things in there where someone has been up here at some point and maybe attempted to do certain things, but they kind of just left a mess with it. That stuff that's in there has been in there for a while. You can just tell by looking at it. But this will probably go down as my, I don't know, my top 3 that I visited. I'd have to think about it a little more, but the hike up here to me was superior to the hike to Shuckstack and Mount Sterling. It was a little tougher, but just the changes in the landscape and the different types of the forest that I went through today was just pretty remarkable for me. A lot of it is to do with the time that I'm hiking too, getting to see ice and then moss here and there, and then the fog and the blankets of clouds along the way, and then up here at the top. It's just worked out really well today. And I honestly have my doubts about it a little bit, but I'm so grateful for how it turned out. So I'm gonna hang out for a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna start heading back down the trail. Back on the AT now, and the sun has decided to join us. Kind of surprising. Oh. So this is probably one of my favorite parts of the trail. It's like completely flat through right here, and then you got mountain line on that side and that side, left and right at the same time. Kind of goes on this way for just a little bit too, maybe a couple tenths of a mile. Very nice. So I made it back to the trail junction. I'm gonna have a seat here and take a little break, have a snack maybe. Then we're going to start hiking back to the parking area. Got 2.9 miles back to the campground. So this is, I think generally speaking, this is probably the halfway point right here where we're at now. So doing pretty good. Hiking back down Low Gap now. It is straight down. All right, so I've got about a mile to go before I get back to the parking area. So I'm gonna give my final thoughts about the hike and the tower and everything, and go ahead and end the video here. I start out with as far as the strenuous level. I would agree with all trails and other things online that this one should be rated as hard. It's rated accurate. I will say if you are looking for, or you don't mind a good challenge, then you would probably thoroughly enjoy this hike as well as I did. It's got some challenging parts. The Low Gap Trail specifically is the part where you will gain the majority of your elevation, and you'll gain some on the AT too, but not quite as much as you gain on the Low Gap. And the AT is just different anyway, how it's laid out. You know, it's always good to hike on the AT, and it's clear and not usually too rocky, maintained pretty well. But the last half a mile or so on the Mount Cammerer trail, there towards the end, there was some not rock hopping, but scrambling you had to do. Not too bad, just a couple little sections where you may have to get down on all fours for just a second, but it was totally manageable. That's nothing to be concerned about, especially if you've had the energy and the the legs to make it all the way up there. In terms of solitude, I think I counted about 7 people that I saw hiking on the trail today, which is pretty good for a trail that's you know, 6 miles in one direction. That's pretty good. There was never a time where I felt like I was on top of someone or they were on top of me, so everything was good as far as that. People I ran into, they all seemed very nice, and I talked briefly for a second with a guy when I was taking a break, and we just kind of shared some couple hiking stories, and then he went on his merry way, and then I gave him some space, and then I continued on from there. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the hike. The tower itself was definitely unique to its own, and it's just the way it's setting up there in the position that it's in is perfect. Whoever had the idea to put it exactly where they did did a really good job with that, because even though it's a short tower, you have a perfect 360-degree view from up there, which was very impressive. Like I said before earlier, I was even more impressed with the view there than Chuckstack and Mount Sterling, which were both very enjoyable hikes. And I have videos for those if you want to check them out. They're on the channel. I think I did both of those in maybe one in October and one in November last year. But yeah, so I think that's gonna do it. I'm gonna get back to the parking lot, head back down I-40 and stop and get something to eat. Really haven't ate much today, so and then we'll head on home from there. But I'd appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't. Those two things just kind of keep me going. There's no strings attached or anything. It's just something that kind of makes YouTube work a little better. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.